Modern-day Oresund Bridge is a wonderful feat of engineering. It links Denmark's largest city with Sweden's third largest city, creating one of the largest and most important economic zones in the entire European Union. The reasons for this bridge are pretty obvious, but did you know that it also saves a lot of Swedish people from being beaten with sticks by the Danes? Yes, that's right. If the sea freezes between Sweden and Denmark, a Dane can legally hit a Swedish person with a stick if they walk to Denmark over the ice. This is a very old law dating back to 1658, in a period in which Denmark and Sweden were almost constantly at war with one another. It was also in a period known as the Little Ice Age, where winters were longer and colder than normal, and the waterway between Denmark and Sweden, and also Prussia, were frozen for much of the year. The sneaky Swedes took the opportunity to march across the frozen belts of ice as a land bridge. So to defend against the Swedish invaders, Denmark passed laws absolving citizens of any consequences for beating the hell out of Swedes that tried to cross the frozen waterways. Nobody has cared to remove the law since then, so the provision still stands. But maybe Denmark is just keeping it in case, the wars have ended, but that doesn't mean we have to let our guards down now. It plays right into the hands of that IKEA empire across the water.
Now, don't take this the wrong way, but Danish people have a bit of a reputation for being a little passive-aggressive. If you find that to be true as well, you should know that this trait was definitely inherited from a long lineage of next-level pettiness. One example of this long-term passive aggression came in the form of a very festive breed of pig. This pig originated in southern Schleswig in the late 1800s. This was during the time of the First and Second Schleswig Wars, or the Dano-Prussian Wars as they're also known. Basically, during this period, the borderlands between what's now Denmark and Germany were fought over many, many times, and the states of Schleswig and Holstein particularly saw fierce fighting. In the end, a number of Danish-speaking people in Schleswig who were culturally Danish suddenly found themselves occupied by Prussia and later the German Confederation. Their Danish culture was suppressed by the Prussians and the Germans, and in fact they were even prohibited from raising the Danish flag. Now, if you've seen any of our videos on this channel or know a little bit about the Danes, you understand how important the Dannebrog or the Danish flag is to its people. It descended from heaven after all. It was no different during this period of history. So how did the Danes living under Prussian rule protest? Well, they brought a pig. That's right, the Husum Red Pied is a rare breed of domestic pig with the nickname Danish protest pig. Since the people were prohibited from raising the Danish flag, they decided instead to breed pigs that had a special red shade of fur and they happened to have a white stripe. With this, they displayed the protest pig instead of the flag. Don't mess with Denmark. They were literally breed a pig just to screw with you.
Now let's stay put in the Schleswig War era for just a little bit, because the pigs were not the only form of 19th century passive-aggressive protest that took place on the Jutland Peninsula during this time. The occupying Germans also instituted laws that prevented Danish organizations from serving alcohol. And again, if you've seen some of our other videos, you know that gathering together for a cozy night of drinks is a fundamental part of culture here. This also struck a major blow to the local community halls, which also functioned as political gathering spots. That's the real reason why the Germans targeted them in this way. So all of a sudden, the Danes needed a non-alcoholic reason to bring people together. Their temporary solution involved another main staple of the Danish diet, the protest cakes. More specifically, it was the soon-to-use kaffebord, or the coffee table. Basically, the occupied Danes took a normal table and covered it in dozens of pastries. You could think of them as rebel cakes. And today you can still find the tradition of these cake tables in Jutland. It's a nice reminder of how a little ingenuity and that classic Danish resistance helped the people to hold on to their culture, and it birthed a new tradition in the process. Bacon and cake are a very Danish way to protest, and another reason not to mess with the Danes. They will cake the hell out of you.
95% of Danish Jews survived the Holocaust, so how did this happen? Historians still debate how Denmark handled the Nazi occupation, but the capitulation of Denmark during World War II meant that Danes largely could govern themselves domestically. As such, Denmark never had to register their Jewish citizens or their properties, and in fact refused to enact some of the occupation policies to be directed at their Jewish citizens. To Danes of this period, their countrymen and women were Danish regardless of their religious traditions. This sentiment actually wore off onto a German diplomat by the name of Georg Duckwitz. He was a high-ranking Nazi who was assigned on duty to Denmark. During his tenure in Copenhagen, he worked to make sure that Hitler's final solution was delayed and put off. He actually assured Hitler that there was no Jewish problem in Denmark. In August of 1943, the Germans were losing ground in the war and their tolerance for Danish self-rule was starting to fade. A state of emergency was declared, and the result of this was the resignation of the Danish parliament in protest. On September 11th of that year, Duckowitz was informed of the plan to round up Denmark's Jewish population on the 1st of October. He flew to Berlin in an attempt to stop this, but he failed. From there, he went to Stockholm for a diplomatic task, and during that managed to convince the Swedish Prime Minister to take in Danish Jews. When he returned to Copenhagen, he informed the members of the Danish resistance and Social Democrat and future Prime Minister Hans Heltoft. Heltoft notified Jewish leaders and the rabbi of Copenhagen synagogue that they were to spread word to the Jewish Danes to go into hiding. During the raids of the 1st of October, only a handful of Jewish Danes were found, mostly those who were too old or too sick to go into hiding. The Germans could not find the others due to a very quickly organized operation. The underground resistance first hid the Jews and then began moving them towards Sweden using hundreds of small boats in one of the most heroic rescues of the Holocaust. With the help of Danish fishermen, the Jews of Denmark crossed over to Sweden. And it wasn't just fishermen. Danes from all walks of life went into action in order to save their Jewish countrymen. Protesters poured into the offices of the German authorities to disrupt their responsive operations. King Christian X expressed his firm objection to the German plans, and the head of the Danish church did as well. Both used their platforms to publicly urge Danish people to help the Danish Jews. Danish police, in fact, refused German orders and even went further to provide cover and safe passage from hiding places in the city towards the beachfronts. Universities closed down for a week, and the students jumped into action to assist the rescue operation. Many think that this was a one-night affair, but in fact the rescue went on for 3 weeks, and in its course 7,200 Jewish citizens and some 700 non-Jewish relatives were all taken to Sweden. Again, further proof, don't mess with any of the Danes, because if you do, you'll end up messing with all the Danes, from the royal family to the fishermen to the police to the students.
If you've never heard of the Danish beer Carlsberg, all you need to know is that it's probably the best beer in the world. The brewery here in Copenhagen was founded way back in 1847, so you would expect it to have some really cool history. The brewery is currently closed to renovations, but when it reopens, you should actually go and explore the history there if you're ever in Copenhagen and you're curious about the heritage of Carlsberg. Part of that history involves something that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a brewery. There's a secret underground Cold War bunker. It's tucked beneath the original factory in damp catacombs that once stored and cooled Carlsberg beer. During the 1950s, Denmark installed missile detection systems and monitored the airspace around the Baltic Sea. As the eastern edge of the NATO alliance in that period, Denmark played a key role in military surveillance, and they hid it where nobody would expect, under all the beer. So welcome to Denmark, where even the beer producers will do their part to make sure that you can't mess with the Danes. And speaking of Carlsberg, did you know that a strain of brewing yeast developed at Carlsberg changed the way that beer around the world is brewed? You can learn about this in another video we have about 7 cool Danish inventions, and in 2 weeks we're also going to have another video about how McDonald's learned the hard way that they shouldn't mess with Denmark. So make sure that you're subscribed and come back and find it. And if you're watching it now, you may find it right here.